The mansion of Mr. Armand, the billionaire industrialist, loomed like a palace over the city, its marble pillars gleaming in the afternoon sun. Inside, the walls were lined with rare paintings and sculptures, each a testament to a lifetime of wealth and refined taste. Yet tonight, the opulence felt irrelevant to Armand. His mind was consumed with concern for his son's future, and more importantly, the character of the woman who had become his daughter-in-law. Zara. The name rolled in his mind like a warning. She had married his son, Arhan, less than a year ago, yet whispers of her vanity and entitlement had already reached his ears. Armand knew appearances could deceive, wealth could blind even the most discerning eye. But he had seen too many fortunes squandered on charm and beauty alone. He needed certainty. He needed to know who Zara truly was, beyond her designer gowns and sparkling jewelry. Thus, a plan was born. Armand would step outside his gilded cage and become someone unrecognizable, a poor, struggling woman who collected garbage for a living. He would not just observe her from afar. He would enter her world in disguise, testing her kindness, patience, and integrity. Hours were spent on the transformation. His normally immaculately styled hair was hidden beneath a faded kerchief. His tailored suits were replaced with patched clothes and worn-out shoes. Makeup disguised the sharp lines of his face, giving him the weathered appearance of someone who had lived a life of hardship. Calloused gloves covered his hands, yet they could not hide the subtle strength of his grip. Even his walk was altered, a slight stoop, a shuffle, to make the ruse believable. As he prepared to leave, Armand's trusted driver approached, eyes filled with concern. "Are you sure about this, sir?" he asked, wary of potential dangers in the streets. Armand nodded, a determined gleam in his eyes. "This is the only way to know the truth," he replied. Stepping out into the chaotic streets, the air smelled of damp earth and garbage, a stark contrast to the fragrant luxury he was accustomed to. Passers-by avoided him without a glance, some stepping over discarded wrappers, others muttering complaints under their breath. Armand took it all in, feeling an unfamiliar thrill in the anonymity. The world he had controlled was suddenly beyond his grasp, and the real test, the moment of truth, awaited at the gates of his own mansion. Zara was lounging in the sunlit courtyard of the mansion, her phone in hand, scrolling through notifications from fashion boutiques and social media. Her silk scarf fluttered lightly in the breeze, and her designer heels tapped impatiently on the marble floor as she waited for the next delivery from an online store. Life in the mansion had always been effortless, a seamless combination of luxury and control. But today, something unusual caught her attention, a figure approaching the grand gates, hunched over, struggling under the weight of a large heap of garbage bags. The woman looked old, her clothes tattered and stained, and her hands were wrapped in worn gloves. She moved slowly, deliberately, and yet there was a certain dignity in her posture. Zara's eyes narrowed as the figure got closer, clutching a bag that threatened to tear. She instinctively wanted to ignore her, but curiosity, and perhaps a flicker of judgment, made her step forward. "Excuse me, could you please tell me where the municipal dump is?" the woman asked, her voice soft but clear. Zara's lips curled in irritation. "Can't you figure it out yourself?" she snapped, barely looking up from her phone. Her words were sharp, cutting through the polite air the stranger had tried to maintain. The woman, undeterred, inclined her head slightly. "I would, ma'am, but this is my first day in this neighborhood. I'd be very grateful for directions," she replied, a hint of patience underlying her words. Zara sighed, annoyed by the persistence. She considered simply walking away, but then her young son, Arhan, appeared at her side. His innocent eyes, wide with curiosity, focused on the struggling figure. "Mama, why is that lady carrying so many bags? Is she hurt?" he asked softly, his small hand gripping hers. Zara hesitated. Her first instinct was irritation, a desire to maintain control and composure. But the boy's gaze, full of concern and expectation, made her pause. She quickly scanned the woman again, her appearance, so different from the pampered lives they led, and felt a small, almost imperceptible pang of discomfort. With a resigned breath, Zara pointed toward the street. "The dump is that way," she said, her voice softer now, though still tinged with impatience. "Be careful with your bags." The woman nodded gracefully, tucking a loose strand of hair under her kerchief. As she shuffled away, Zara watched Arhan's eyes follow her, noticing the boy's settled disapproval of her initial harshness. Something stirred uneasily in Zara, a quiet awareness that her reactions had consequences, not just for strangers, but for those who looked up to her most. Unbeknownst to her, this brief encounter was only the beginning of a test that would stretch her patience, empathy, and understanding to their limits. Over the following days, Shireen became an almost invisible presence around the mansion, always lingering on the periphery. Arman, hidden behind the carefully crafted disguise, watched Zara's reactions with a meticulous eye, analyzing every gesture, every flicker of expression. He no longer merely observed, he participated in the household's daily rhythm in small, unobtrusive ways, testing her patience and integrity in subtle but meaningful moments. Some mornings, he appeared near the driveway as she exited for errands, pretending to struggle with a torn bag. Zara's initial reaction was often irritation, a quick, dismissive glance that suggested she considered such people unworthy of attention. But other times, the test forced her to confront a deeper sense of empathy. When Shireen once stumbled under the weight of a bag that ripped open, spilling its contents across the pristine marble, Arhan's laughter turned into a gasp. "Mama, you should help her," he said, pointing to the fallen debris. Zara's face flushed with frustration. She wanted to scold her son for speaking out, to maintain control of the household narrative, but the child's earnestness pierced her composure. With a reluctant sigh, she bent down, picking up the scraps and handing Shireen a neatly folded bag. Her smile was forced, a fragile mask hiding the irritation simmering beneath. Arman, watching through the subtle lenses hidden in the courtyard, felt a faint sense of satisfaction. Even a small gesture of kindness counted. He also observed the quieter, more revealing moments, the ones without witnesses. When he carried a heavy package to the gate, she would sometimes glance outside, debating whether to acknowledge him or walk away. On days when her patience was tested by household chaos, Shireen's calm presence was a silent mirror reflecting Zara's choices back at her. Would she lash out, or would she rise to the occasion with grace? Arhan, with his innocent insistence, became an unwitting ally in the test. The boy's questions, his concern for Shireen, often forced Zara to reconsider her reactions. Her decisions, made in these fleeting, unguarded moments, revealed far more about her true nature than her carefully curated social interactions ever could. Arman, watching from the shadows, realized the experiment had reached a critical phase. Zara's character was emerging, not in grand gestures, but in subtle choices, small acts of kindness, fleeting moments of patience, and the ability to see beyond wealth and appearances. The mansion, with all its luxury and artifice, had become a stage, and Zara's performance was no longer rehearsed, it was real. The sun had begun its slow descent, casting long golden shadows across the mansion's courtyard. The air was heavy with the mingling scents of blooming jasmine and the faint tang of the city beyond the gates. Shireen shuffled near the entrance, as usual, carrying a bag that seemed too heavy for his frail disguise. Arman had chosen this evening carefully, less staff, fewer distractions, wanting the culmination of his experiment to feel intimate, unhurried, and authentic. Suddenly, Shireen stumbled. The bag slipped from his grasp, and he fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Pain shot through his body, and he feigned unconsciousness with perfect precision. Within moments, Zara appeared, Arhan trailing behind her, his small hand gripping hers tightly. The sight of the woman sprawled on the marble, seemingly hurt, sent a jolt of panic through her. "Oh my God, are you all right?" Zara cried, rushing forward. Her heels clicked against the floor as she knelt beside him, brushing strands of hair from the face of the supposed garbage collector. "Someone call help, quick," she shouted, her voice trembling with fear. Her designer gloves were forgotten. She was no longer the poised, composed woman who had scolded Shireen days ago. In this moment, she was human, raw, empathetic, and vulnerable. Arhan watched intently, eyes wide, sensing the seriousness of the situation. Zara held Shireen's hand, her other hand steadying his head. She spoke softly, coaxing him to respond, checking for any signs of distress. Arman, through the guise of Shireen, noted every gesture, her instinctive care, her worry, the urgency in her actions. This was the moment that revealed the true measure of her heart. Then, slowly, he allowed the disguise to slip. The kerchief fell back, revealing his carefully concealed features, the expensive watch catching the last rays of sunlight. "It was me, all along," he said gently, letting the weight of the revelation sink in. Zara froze. Shock rippled across her face, quickly replaced by guilt and remorse. You were testing me," she whispered, voice choked with emotion. Arhan gasped, unable to comprehend the transformation, and looked to his mother for answers. Arman smiled, a blend of stern authority and quiet satisfaction. "I needed to know the woman my son married," he said. "Kindness, humility, and compassion cannot be bought. They are revealed in how we treat those who seem powerless." Tears filled Zara's eyes as she realized the lessons she had learned: patience, empathy, and genuine care. From that day forward, her relationship with Arman and Arhan deepened, built not on appearances or wealth, but on respect, love, and understanding. The mansion, once filled with formality and pretense, now echoed with laughter, warmth, and the quiet, enduring proof that true character shines brightest in unexpected ways.